With Tennessee being so famous for music, it's no surprise that many stringed instruments are made right here in the state. What may surprise you is that a tiny little shop in the little town of Old Hickory is turning out instruments for the likes of Garth Brooks and Dolly Parton. Here's Tammy Arender at a place called the Crafters of Tennessee.
When you think about famous musicians like Johnny Cash or Dolly Parton, do you ever wonder where they get their instruments? Well, I know they've gotten at least one or two from Tut and Mark Taylor in Old Hickory, Tennessee.
We still got a little bit right there that's got to go down. The biggest challenge to a builder, I think, today is not necessarily building a new sound. We don't want to produce something that's new because everybody wants the old stuff, you know. So all we want to do now is consistently reproduce the sounds that everybody loves. And that's what you strive for now, is to repeat the process.
Mark Taylor is repeating the process he and his father, Tut Taylor, started back in Georgia. Tut made many a famed guitar, mandolin, and banjo for some of the greatest bluegrass pickers ever to pick. Tut is now retired, but Mark is furthering that family tradition here in his Crafters of Tennessee shop.
But I was around everybody that was so good. All these people were coming to Dad's house and all these professionals, and it's like, you know what, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to have to figure out, if I'm going to be somebody, I got to be somebody that's not a player. You know, so I figured out I could be a better builder than a player. You know, so, and the builders are just as important as a player. Without the instruments, you know, those players don't do well. And get those ready, then we'll go ahead and use these three for the new banjo necks that we got to make.
Although Mark was in his dad's shop as a child, he didn't automatically choose to go into the stringed instrument making business. He went to college to be an architectural engineer. So you originally had the dream to build big buildings, houses, and now you're building musical houses.
Yep, that's true. Building the instrument is very critical that everything stay to the same center lines.
Between his engineering expertise and his ear for music, Mark's reputation as an expert craftsman have made him a leader in the custom business. His customers look like a who's who of country music, like Johnny Cash, Garth Brooks, Grandpa Jones, Dolly Parton, and Diamond Rio guitarist Jimmy Olander. That's just to name a few.
You know, your head swells a little. It shouldn't, but it does. You know, I've been real fortunate. I got to build, you know, for President of the United States. I got one in the Smithsonian. I got an instrument in the Tennessee State Museum, you know, and they, I have some display stuff down in the Georgia State Museum. So all of a sudden, you know, it's like people know your name, and you know but you got to be real careful. You don't want that you don't really want it to go to your head.
Right, right.
This is the beginnings and the makings of a guitar. We build our own molds, we do all the designs. See, now we have the shape of a guitar, you know, and it all started out with the bender.
It's fascinating to see how the wood is bent for a guitar. The rosewood or maple is put into this contraption, then heated to give it that womanly curve.
If you look down through here, there's light bulbs in here.
Oh, and that's how it's heated?
Yep, just by light bulbs.
What wattage?
They're 120 watts.
Few people get to see inside the body of a guitar. This is where the rich tones are generated. It's these braces, which are carved by hand to the very nth degree, which gives it that perfect sound.
But the custom side of it is where the individual comes in and says, I'm looking for this, but I want a little bit more treble. And I basically sit and kind of talk with them, kind of get an idea of what they're listening for, who they like to play, you know, and kind of what they're hearing. And then I can determine what I need to do or change or, you know, brighten up or dull down or whatever these instruments.
Mark taps into his truest creative talent when he makes a mandolin. This process is quite different from the guitar. The body is carved, not bent.
All of these thicknesses and graduations are very critical. I mean, exact, just for a few thousandths. So that gives you, all of this has to be done by hand. I'll take my thumb and just sandpaper and shape all of that. You know, it's perfect for a thumb.
The mandolin is his favorite instrument to build, yet it's his most challenging.
it's gone through the mold, came out of the mold, it's final sanded, everything's leveled down, and I'm getting ready now to route it for binding. And that's a long, drawn-out process, very critical. You mess that up, you're in some deep trouble, you know, because you're looking at a $14,000 instrument.
It's those final touches of inlaid pearl that gives Mark's instruments their own personality. This is also where Mark's son, Travis, gets his hands-on experience, making this a third generation of tailors to have an impact on some of the music we hear today.
You're basically building something that when I'm dead and gone, those instruments are still going to be used and still producing joy for the person that bought them, and also the people who are listening to them. So it's kind of like a, you know, it's kind of like an ongoing thing. It will never die, you know. So that's quite a legacy to just continue with.
Even with all their beauty, Mark's instruments are merely wood and string until someone picks them up. It's then their real beauty shines through.
I've always told people, I said, you know, it really doesn't matter what they pick up. I said, let the instrument speak for itself.